Just one of the worst things. I'm not that old. I promise I'm not that old. I just promise I'm not that old. Whatever. We finally got it working. It's only 51 minutes late, and now I'm just flustered. And I want everybody to know I feel like I know technology. Like I feel like I understand how to do it. I got Adam here from my team that's helping us with the very first episode. I just want everyone to know it's not my fault. I used ChatGPT to get this very first episode. We've streamed 100 times. We've never had any issues. And we finally figured out by hotspotting to my phone, the issue is our internet service provider. It's the dumbest thing imaginable, but we're late, but we're just on time, actually, because we're finally here. Thanks everybody so much for joining. I'm sorry we're late, and I'm gonna make it up to everybody. I don't know how I'm gonna make it up to everybody, but I hope we're streaming on all platforms now. I'm hoping we are. And yeah, just let it go. If we're getting phone calls, just let it go. Yeah, for everybody calling, I'm not gonna get it. I'm not gonna get it because my phone is charging, and we're just trying to get everything moving along. So here we are, the very first episode of Mortgage Unplugged. And it's going to be a fast-paced internet radio show. That's the whole idea behind it. And we're going to get back on track. So welcome everyone to Mortgage Unplugged. I'm your host, Michael Swigert, where we talk all things mortgage, all things real estate for 30 minutes during your lunch hour, which actually now the joke is not going to make any sense unless you're on the West Coast. Then it's your coffee hour, but nobody cares about you on the West Coast because your property values are so high, your loan amounts are so high. I'm just kidding. But now it's probably your lunchtime. But this fast-paced internet radio show is going to be, it's designed to keep you informed on what's going on in the marketplace. It's designed to keep you entertained, and it'll be a little educational. So hopefully you get something out of it, and join us every Monday, normally 1 p.m. Eastern time. But today is March 23rd, 2026, and your time now is 1:53. And this segment, though, is powered by our friends over at MBS Highway or Highway.ai, where they make me sound intelligent and seem way smarter than I actually am when it comes to the secondary market and when it comes to mortgage bonds and treasuries. So we can kind of understand and predict where mortgage rates are going to go, because that's the number one question I get. It's never, Michael, how are you? It's never, and also I'm a little upset. My Diet Dr. Pepper is now room temperature. It's been 53 minutes. What a shame. What a shame. But let's jump into the market, see what's going on today, because it's actually been we're going to talk about this later in the show. It's been a crazy couple weeks for mortgage rates, where we were seeing a good downward trend, and now we're starting, unfortunately, to see those rates go up. But it's a good day today. Stocks and bonds. Oh, thank you, Adam, for another Diet Dr. Pepper. Stocks and bonds are both having a rebound. President Trump came out today and said that they've been negotiating with Iran and the Iranian leaders, and it's productive, and they should have a resolution soon. So that is good, because we do not like the price of oil going up. We're going to talk about this later in the show, but that has been a very, very big killer of mortgage rates. We're seeing the mortgage-backed securities up about 20 basis points, 21 basis points actually right now, and the 10-year Treasury down 5 basis points. So for those of us that don't understand the secondary market or have no idea what the hell I just said, good news when mortgage bonds go up and 10-year Treasury goes down. That's good for interest rates, and I'll explain that a little bit later as well. So we're looking at having a good week. I think there's, let's see, the ADP employment report comes out this week, and jobless claims are on Thursday. And for those, little spoiler alert, fewer jobs, better for interest rates. Interest rates just really love bad news, and that's what it is. So thanks so much at our friends for MBS Highway for that market update. Like I said, they make us look a lot smarter than we actually are when it comes to mortgage rates. But we're going to talk a little bit more about mortgage rates here in a little bit later in the show.
Ever wonder why your offer on a home isn't getting accepted? It's frustrating putting in offers and offers and offers and not getting the house you finally set your heart on. Then you found out that the sellers accepted an offer with Alcova Mortgage's Can-Do pre-approval. A pre-approval that is so rock solid that if the financing falls through, Alcova pays the buyer and the seller of the property. Make sure you stop losing and start winning with Alcova Mortgage. 330-465-8409 or visit alcovamortgage.com. That is 330-465-8409, or www.alcovamortgage.com. Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender. NMLS ID 40508. NMLS, consumeraccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval. Stop losing out on your dream home and start winning today.
It's a little shameless plug there by Alcova Mortgage, but it's time to stay in the know for trending news articles in the real estate and mortgage world. Listen, there's always trending articles about the real estate market, whether it's mortgages, whether it's real estate, like housing prices, anything like that. And you guys need to remember that the number one thing that sells in the real estate industry is bad news, and they try to play on that. So here's some of the trending topics today. Our good friend Suzanne Blake. We love Suzanne Blake, right? Good friend of the show. No idea who she is, but she's over at Newsweek, and she published an article 2 days ago. Actually, I'm sorry, yesterday. Is exactly what I'm talking about, clickbait. So the one thing that I always hear from, other than what's interest rates, when is the crash? When are housing prices going to come down? And if you don't believe me about them wanting to sell just absolute scare clickbait, go ahead and look at her article over at Newsweek. The URL tags on it literally say housing-market-crash-2026. And she titled her article, "Is the housing market going to crash in 2026? What to know?" So that's absolutely. Well, the first thing I'm going to think is like, oh, wow, yeah, 2026 is the year for a housing crash. I mean, she literally put it in the URL. But good news is that Suzanne is such a housing market expert that her credibility goes to that she went to UNC Chapel Hill and graduated from there and has never held a real estate license or a mortgage license, and she specializes in consumer trends. So this article is absolutely worth its weight in gold, which is a webpage, which weighs nothing. But this is kind of what I'm talking about. When you guys hear the news, when we watch news, when we read articles online, take it with a grain of salt. Make sure you're reaching out to a professional, because if you read this article, there's not much to it, but this is something that I think the industry always talks about. You'll see it probably once a week on CNN, Fox News, Newsweek, or any sort of housing wire. Anybody's going to talk about it because it's good clickbait. But let's let the experts be experts. So first of all, what we're looking at in this article, she interviews some people from Zillow, some other mortgage brokers, real estate brokers throughout the country. And one thing to know about the housing market is that it's absolutely regional. So what's happening in Northeast Ohio is completely different than what's happening. Actually, even when you just go not that far south into Columbus, it's different than what's happening in Southwest Florida. It's different than what's happening in Orange County. Every single market is a little different. But here's one thing that we need to do. When we read the article, you'll see that. And we're seeing not a slowdown. We're seeing a little bit of a freeze. And it's actually very, very simple, because we saw a very, very good start to the year. But when we look at the data, it's not that hard to understand. When you're reading the article, there's not much there. But there's a war that just broke out about 3 weeks ago. You start seeing the price of oil go up. You start seeing that massive snowstorm that came through in the end of February, where we were seeing sub-zero temperatures for 3 weeks and 2 feet of snow throughout most of the Northeast United States. So yeah, you're starting to see a little bit of freeze. But one thing that's important to realize is this is what, get it through your heads right now. The reason why we're not going to see another crash, well, a couple of reasons. Number one, we still have a housing shortage, right? We still need homes. You talk to any single real estate agent or anybody that's sitting on the sidelines, we need homes still. That's number one. Number two, you guys have to understand what happened in 2008. In 2007, 2006, they were writing loans that literally no income verification, sub 580 credit scores. The underwriting guidelines, if you've gotten a mortgage in the past 2 to 5 years, you understand the underwriting guidelines are completely different. And we verify we actually have good underwriting guidelines now, to the point where we're not going to run into those issues of adjustable rates adjusting at 10, 12, 15%, giving somebody 3 houses, doing 120% loan to value renovation loans, and the contractor never showing up and paying the contractor at closing. We've learned our lesson. So the other thing we need to realize is that home values have appreciated every single year, except for 7 years since 1941. So when we see articles like this, we need to understand the housing market is, number one, we still need some homes. We still need a lot of homes, whether they're new built, whether they're people moving out and renting, whatever it is, we still have an inventory issue. Number two, underwriting guidelines are completely different, and borrowers are just so much more qualified than they ever were. And number three, home values have appreciated every single year except for 7 since 1941. And what we're going to start to see, and which we've already been seeing since 2023, is that instead of those homes appreciating at 10, maybe in those double digits, we're starting to see a nice 4 to 6% across the United States home value appreciation. So we are not, and if you read this article, she says there's actually no reason to expect any sort of housing crash in 2026. So remember, when we start reading some of these topics, and that's what one thing I want to always do when we jump on this radio show, is that every single week, let's jump into a trending article and let's make sure that it's actually good information that we're reading. So that when you're looking at it, whether it's on your favorite news site, or whether it's even on Housing Wire, make sure you look at that author, make sure you look at their data and get good information. So that way we're not, maybe clicking on that clickbait like I just read up top.
In a time where podcasts rule the world, get ready for the greatest podcast that has ever been created. Well, according to our moms, the Bearded Banker Podcast is your home for all things mortgages. Join the 250,000 others who get hilarious takes, elite mortgage guidance, awesome guest interviews, and hear Aaron complain about someone taking the sauna at the gym before him. Follow the Bearded Banker Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Facebook. The Bearded Banker Podcast with your hosts, Michael Swigert and Aaron Howell.
It is true. Aaron likes to complain about that sauna. But what a great podcast. If you guys don't subscribe to that, absolutely do. We have some really cool guests that join the show, and we do not talk about mortgages and real estate. About the first 20 minutes, roughly, give you some good trending topics. But make sure you guys give that a like and a follow. We've had some awesome guests. It's definitely a fun hour and a half listen. But the next segment, we love giving a shout out to our partners in the industry. So this week's agent spotlight goes out to our very good friends over at Paramount Properties Group. Listen, guys, if you're looking for a home in the Cleveland area, there isn't a better team to fit your family's needs. Their team of full-time real estate agents are consistently rated as some of the best in Northeast Ohio, especially that Cleveland and Willoughby market. Their team leaders, Mate Pollock, Nick Slattery, and Jake Sudnick, create a literal one-stop shop for their clients, from negotiating experts, marketing gurus, even professional in-house photography, videography. There is a reason why, time and time again, they are voted as the top real estate team in Northeast Ohio. And let's give a second here. I had Mate join the show. Mate Pollock, one of the team leads.
Hey, I'm Mate Pollock with Paramount Properties Group at Berkshire Hathaway here in Northeast Ohio. My team and I, we focus on high-value results for buyers and sellers across the whole Northeast Ohio market and luxury properties. With strong knowledge and a commitment going above and beyond, we make real estate simple and successful. So I'd love to help you on your journey. How can I assist you?
All right. So Mate and Nick and Jake, they're great partners of Alcova Mortgage and my team, and they are true professionals. So make sure give them a shout, give them a call, 440-850-8450, or visit them on the web at paramountpropertiesgroup.bhhspro.com. Paramount Properties Group, exceptional service. That's Paramount. Equal housing opportunity. So the biggest thing I want to talk about today, let's talk about interest rates. Made a couple videos, but that's one thing the number one question, especially right now, and it's such a hot topic. And I wanted to bring that up, at the beginning of the show where we're talking about the markets, we're talking about what's happening, and right now, absolutely volatile. If any of you have any sort of investment account, I'm sure you guys have gotten emails over the past couple of weeks, talking about market volatility. Interest rates were probably some of the most affected instruments out there on the market. And we have to understand why. So the number one killer of interest rates is inflation. And one of the number one driving factors, no matter what you hear from economists, it's very simple. Think of it this way. One of the number one driving factors of inflation would absolutely be oil, because oil turns into gas, and gas is how we get all of our goods from point A to consumer. whether it's raw materials coming into the country, raw materials traveling across the country to the final good getting shipped out. I know every single person that's on this live stream right now, they probably have an Amazon account. And that good, just think about how many times it has used gasoline through the process, the life cycle of that product, from raw material to the manufacturer, from the manufacturer to the ship to be shipped out, from then the retailer to that consumer's house. So if the price of oil dramatically goes up, and we have no end in sight. So that's the biggest thing that we need to realize, is that we have no end in sight, and markets don't really know how to react. So if the price of oil goes up, then the fear of inflation goes up, and the fear of inflation going up, the markets are going to react appropriately. And when inflation goes up, mortgage rates always follow suit. They always do. And you have to understand why. So what does the Federal Reserve, excuse me, what does the Federal Reserve do when inflation is a big factor? Well, we know from the past couple of years, they raise interest rates. And those interest rates are the Fed's funds rates. And they absolutely affect a treasury bond, right? Backed by the U.S. Treasury, the U.S. government, the full faith of the U.S. government. And it's a guaranteed return. So if you guys remember when you were kids and you got savings bonds, those savings bonds in 10 years were going to be worth X amount of dollars, whatever the bond was. So it's a guaranteed rate of return. A mortgage, well, it's also almost a guaranteed rate of return. You can't say that because look what happened in 2007, 2008, but it's generally considered not too high of a risk instrument. That's why pensions and retirement accounts are always consisting of mortgage-backed securities, because you're going to bundle these all together and you're going to get a consistent rate of return, right? You make your mortgage payment, that payment goes into the aggregator takes those funds, the servicer takes those funds to an aggregator, the aggregator then sends it out part of a mortgage-backed security, and you get those payments and everybody's happy. Well, if a treasury bond is a guaranteed rate of return, the feds, what they do to combat inflation is pull money out of the market. So one way to pull money out of the market is raise those rates, raise the Fed's funds rate. So therefore, the bonds, the 10-year treasury follows suit. And let's just use basic numbers. I said right now we're at 4.35. Let's just say the 10-year treasury is at 4.25. That's the yield of a guaranteed return. Well, if I have a bunch of mortgage bonds and I want to entice somebody to invest in those, right, the aggregator, it's going to then sell it out to somebody, to a pension, to whatever that retirement account is, whatever it may be, those hedge funds, we want to entice them. Well, we need to increase the yield that we're offering, which means we need to increase the mortgage interest rates that are inside that mortgage bond. So if a guaranteed return of 4.25 on a 10-year treasury, well, then mortgage rates, again, a little bit risky. We need to increase those. And typically what we're seeing right now is that it's about 2.5% spread, meaning if the 10-year treasury is at 4.25, we're now seeing mortgage rates at 6.5, 6.75, even pushing that 7% number to entice people to invest in mortgage bonds. It's that simple. So every time there's a worry of inflation, the feds will raise those rates, raise the rates up, which in turn raises the mortgage rates up, because we need to entice hedge funds to invest with the aggregators. So that is why we're starting to see it so aggressively. But here's the one thing that we need to talk about is that the past couple times that the feds have lowered rates or have cut rates, we have not seen mortgage rates follow suit. Actually, they went up because of the words that Jerome Powell, no matter how you feel about the Federal Reserve, because I could spend a whole hour and a half talking about that, because of what he says in his press conferences, where they don't feel very confident that inflation, even though the numbers are coming back great, they don't feel very confident that inflation has actually been kicked. And when we have a war, especially in the Gulf Coast, or I'm sorry, in the Middle East, where oil is absolutely, that's the lifeblood, you're going to start to see oil prices go up, which is then in turn interest rates go up. So it's interesting to see what we have coming up in the next couple of weeks, the news that we have. Excuse me. 2 weeks ago, we saw jobless claims. The revisions and unemployment dramatically went up, which is normally good for mortgage rates. But now we're sitting here thinking the Federal Reserve, the market was baking in 3 rate cuts in 2026. Now they're at 0. Now they think the Federal Reserve is not going to slash rates anytime soon. So the market is literally reacting as such. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this week. Hopefully there's a resolution that comes with the war. We're hoping that the inflation, that number is cooled, and interest rates will follow suit. So before we get out of here, we got one more message, and we'll wrap everything up.
Springtime, and you decided to take a walk around the neighborhood and got back to your house and realized it might be time for a makeover. Your siding is old, your roof is on its last few years, and you are ready to be the nicest looking house in the neighborhood. That's where Black Diamond Exteriors comes in. Upgrade your home with Black Diamond Exteriors. From roofing and siding to windows and more. They deliver quality you can trust, done right the first time. Call today for a free estimate at 330-267-9284. That's 330-267-9284.
All right, so we want to thank everybody so much for joining us. In the meantime, before we wrap it up, we always want to give a plug to a specific mortgage product. Let's give a plug. Let's talk about a DSCR loan real fast. For those of you guys that do not know what a DSCR loan is, by far the most popular tool anybody who's looking at getting in real estate investing is using. Very simple. Let's break it down for you. We look at the only income that is the appraised rent that is of the home that you are purchasing against your debt obligation. So if we're having a good deal on a house and we know that it's going to rent for X amount of dollars, as long as it comes in above the proposed mortgage payment, that's the income we use for qualifying. It is a great, great tool, an awesome loan product. So if you are looking at getting into the real estate market and start investing in rental properties, make sure you talk about it and learn and get educated about a DSCR loan. It by far is the best loan on the market when you're looking at becoming an investor. So thank everybody so much for joining. Thank you so much for Adam helping me with the technical issues. He's here. And hopefully we won't have that again, because I think I understand now that it's our internet provider. I'm not even going to give him a shout out. I'm not even going to talk smack about him and give him a shout out, because I will be calling and complaining like a Karen. So thanks so much for joining, everybody. We'll see you guys next Monday at 1 p.m. I promise you, at 1 p.m. we will be up and running. And until then.